Chewing horses.
That's so unlike you.
I can't even tell you where I'm going without going and opening my book.
You couldn't tell we upgraded our internet, could you?
No.
Jesus.
For us, an upgrade on the stuff would be a string in a can.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever you're done playing around back there, we can start the show. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Do that.
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back, guys, on today's show. Welcome to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. Let me start that over, sorry. I was so concentrating on something else, sorry. I won't play the whole thing. We'll start right here.
Check your pencil eraser and erased it.
Welcome to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein, the best podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stein is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. On this week's episode, we are going to talk to Kate Richards, a writer for the PastTheWire.com, an online magazine for thoroughbred racing, and so much more. We'll dive into that as the show goes on. And over to my far right hand side is Mike Stein. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you this morning?
I'm doing okay. Well, I'm doing fine. My wife is not doing very well at all. And I say very well, she's doing better now.
Right.
So as you guys know, my wife has bought a 3-year-old gelding baby. He's a baby. And my wife rides dressage. Now we have an 11-year-old Dominique, female mare.
Right.
And she does real well. She's trained. She knows what's going on. And so she's well with that. But Dominique has reached a certain peak as far as her training levels and movement and stuff that she's got going on. Diego is got so much potential. So much potential. Mike, you've seen Diego. What's your opinion as far as the way the horse carries that itself?
He is definitely an uphill horse. There's no doubt about it. And there is a lot of potential with him as far as doing dressage.
So my wife, out of habit, wears spurs. Now, not like the old cowboy spurs that you see where they go ting, 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 you know, like in the movies.
Right.
It's just a small little metal bracket. It's probably got like a small little, pardon the pun, a spur, one spur on the back. It looks like a nub, a little metal nub.
Right, yep.
So my wife normally wears them on Dominique. Dominique is familiar with that. And then for whatever reason, she put her boots on and the spur is already on the boots and she's riding Diego, the 3-year-old.
Right.
And she's coming around the rail. Now we do have it's an open arena, and the arena that we have is, I think, 80 meters by 120 meters. So it's a smaller version of the larger dressage arena. So it's good size. She can get a lot of exercise out there. She can do a lot of movement out there. And with the horse, this new horse, Diego, she was coming clockwise around the arena, and you know they've got the letters on the side where you come up to F and then you start making your turn from F, go across the arena to go to A. You know, you're doing the inside lead foot and the outside lead foot and the lead change and all
right.
that. Diego's really good at doing that, or starting to learn to be really good at doing that. Well, now keep in mind he's a baby.
Yep.
So
we got that. So
my wife is coming around the short part of the arena, the 80 meter section of the arena, and she's making her turn, and she did something. She's already leaning to the left because the horse tends to ride to the right for a little bit. So she's already leaning to the left. In the process of doing that, I don't know if her crop hit the horse's butt or her spur dug up into the where does the spur hit a horse?
Not where the horse wants you to hit him.
Well, and Diego's not used to having spurs on him. So, do you know what happened?
I heard a little rumor about this, that she was trying to defy gravity.
She got thrown. She got thrown and flat on her back, missed the rail. Thank God. She missed the rail. She tried to hang on as much as she could. Now, the horse didn't buck. It didn't do anything. It kind of did this little bounce to the side, boing, 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 like
got her off center, and then gravity took over.
Yes, and she hit the ground and fell right on her head. Thank God the horse didn't step on her or do anything like that. And so Brett, the gentleman who was here past couple weeks ago, he's our trainer. He's calling me. I'm up at the main house, and he's calling me, and it's going to voicemail. It's going to voicemail. I keep my phone on mute.
Yeah,
which I shouldn't.
I get that.
And I look, and it says, verified number, and I'm calling down there. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, you might want to come down here. Your wife's laying in the middle of the arena. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So get on the side-by-side, drive down there as fast as I can. Brett's tacking up the horse in the wash rack, getting them all.
Getting everything, yeah.
Getting everything off of them. And my wife is literally like, you ever done snow angels?
Right, yeah.
She's literally arms spread wide out, legs spread wide out, looking straight up. She's not moving, and I'm freaking out. So I run over there. Obviously, she's not hurt enough to where Brett's not taking care of her. Brett's, taking care of the horse. She's probably like, I'm okay. Just call my husband. So I go down there. I'm like, first thing, can you, how's your vision? Are you okay? Do you feel like you're going to throw up? No. I said, all right, let me help you up. Got her to her knees, rolled her over, stood up, held onto her shoulders for a minute. I'm looking at her in the face, and I'm like, can you see me? Can you focus? She's like, I'm fine. But she said when she hit, I don't know if the breath was taken out of her because she fell, shoulder and head hit first.
Right.
She said she couldn't talk for a minute or two.
Well, they could take the wind out of you for sure.
Well, the wind out of you, but she couldn't form like sentences. And I said, well, it's a couple things. Wind possibility. Second of all, the intense impact probably just rattled knocked the cobwebs loose a little bit, and just the intensity of what happened. And so she's okay. I brought her up to the house. I put her right in the bed because that's what you're supposed to do. That you're supposed to let them. No, I'm just kidding. She didn't go to sleep. No, she did take some acetaminophen. Watched her. She wasn't nauseous. She had as the day went on, her shoulder hurt. It's like being in a car accident.
Sure.
And so she's fine. She didn't do any work. She was in a dark room. The lights weren't bothering her or anything like that. She recovered. So she fell off the horse, and she hasn't been thrown in years and years. And she's somewhat of a trained rider as far as, being thrown or what to look for when you get thrown off a horse. So she's okay.
Yeah, that's good. I heard that. And every now and then you just got to test the laws of physics and make sure the laws of physics are working properly.
But the one thing is, when we went down there and, she took all her, and she does wear somewhat of a chest plate or something like that while she's riding, just as a precaution with a baby.
Right.
And we looked at her helmet, and her helmet it's cracked where it landed. And so, that helmet's done.
Right.
That's got to go away. So she's buying a new helmet. But all in all, she's good. She took a day off, maybe a good 48 hours off of work or doing anything like that, kind of relaxed and just kind of collected herself. And she blames herself, and that's the part I don't understand. She blames herself for causing the horse to buck because she said, I had my spurs on, I was asking him to do this, and the horse didn't want to do that, so he responded by bouncing to the left or bouncing actually to the right towards the center of the arena and actually throwing her weight off. Can a rider be, in your opinion, can a rider blame themselves for causing the horse to throw them, or is it just the horse like, I'm done with you, get off of me?
Well, yeah, that it depends. Like everything, if she bumped him and he was not used to it, her balance went off, whatever, and he reacted big, he was reacting to a pressure. So that,
Is it driver error or operator error? I would say operator error.
Well, it certainly can be for sure. There's always driver error, and for the most part, they react, the horses, to something. And
he's young, so he's probably not used to doing all this. And I'm like,
he's young, he's still green.
I said, babe, it's probably 50-50. 50-50 the horse, 50-50 you, but she's beating herself up over it. But the main thing is, what do they always say?
You can use that against her for a while.
Yeah, but what do they always say? The whole cliche phrase is, you fall off the horse,
you get back on, right?
Right. All right, guys, stick around. On the phone lines, we're going to get to Kate Richards, writer for the PastTheWire.com here in just one second. Stick around. You listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. He'll be right back. Get out of your system now.
Water's over there.
Water over there.
I have to get it where I have to lean a little bit to get it.
Reminds you not to do it. All right, let's call Kat back.
Yep. And my phone is off. The wallet's over there. My knife's over there. My coffee cup's over there. It's out of reach. You know, you got to deal with kids.
I'm going to ask for just 2 seconds of silence. I'm going to reintroduce the segment, and then I'll bring you on, okay?
Got it.
Mike, stop drinking water over there. I give Mike a hard time, so he's okay. All right. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. He was the official farrier for the 2018 World Equestrian Games, and make sure you follow him on Facebook. And the way you do that is search for Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. And Mike, you've been posting a bunch of videos up there on your Facebook page. A lot of new interesting thing, and also you can see for every podcast we do, we have a matching video as well. There's me waving to Mike, Mike waving to me. You can also follow him on YouTube as well. And the way you do that is to search for Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. Now, if you have a question for Mike or comment or a question for me as well, I was telling you about what happened with my wife falling off the horse. You can email equinedynamics.com and little contact section up at the top. Make sure you put subject in the podcast or put podcast in the subject line. Sorry, I had that backwards. Podcast in the subject line, and make sure you put a return address so we can send you out some stickers and some magnets to show our appreciation for you for sending in your question. Now, over to my far right hand side is Mike Stein. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Travis?
I'm doing well. And on the phone with us right now, we have Kate Richards, a writer for the PassTheWire.com, on the online magazine for thoroughbred racing horses. Kate, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. And you?
I'm doing okay. Now, give us a little background. How does one become a writer for an online magazine, and especially for thoroughbred racing horses? I mean, where did you get started at, and what led you to this path that you're on right now?
Well, funny. I was supposed to go to a ballet when I was about 6 years old with my grandmother and my great aunt, and both of them lived in New York, had highfalutin jobs. And they always would go to the track. Well, we didn't go to the ballet. We went to the track. I never got over it. It was the smell. It was the excitement. It was people smiling, and it was community.
Now, when you say you went to the track, did you go there? Did your family gamble on the tracks, or they just go to enjoy the atmosphere?
They were fans, and it was a social thing back in the 50s. To go to the track, to have, to enjoy your friends, to have a cocktail, to visit with them, and to enjoy the horses. And of course they would bet. That's, part of it. That's what the fun is. Who do you like? Now, as far as how I developed my career, I've been in sports and entertainment marketing for over 40 years. I've traveled internationally. I have taught. I have worked in the Olympics, and as well as for some of the major hitters that are sports sponsors. And what I did is I would develop the event and do the ancillary marketing and the merchandising. How I got into horse racing writing is when I moved to Louisville, and I was asked to write a couple of columns, and I knew enough about it, and I started studying up on it.
Now, do you have a background as far as journalism or anything like that, or you were just kind of helping someone out with a friend? Yeah, hey, do you feel like writing a couple columns or anything like that?
I have always been a copywriter. When you have to develop an event, you have to know how to present it, and that is a lot of writing.
Got it. So you're writing for this this column, and it's all about horse racing.
Yes. Just finished developing our chart for the Belmont Stakes. All we have to slug in is the post position and the morning line. But it's interesting. I always include one column that states the last race run and what position they finished up in. That tells me something. It should tell the reader something about their form. All
right, so hold on, because you kind of just jumped from one thing to another. I just want to clarify. I want to keep an even stream here. So on the PassTheWire.com magazine, you have created a chart for the Belmont that's coming up on the website.
That's correct.
Okay, so give me the whole breakdown as far as why do you do that, for one, and what it all the information and everything that it tells you.
Well, there's so much information out there about the horse's personality, who's it connected, et cetera, et cetera. I try to chart it out as a quick study for somebody that is not connected to the horse industry and wants to have something they can print out to take to their viewing party, or they can put it in the front of their lap if they want to call in a bet. They pretty much know what the touts know and what the talking heads know. I also do a lot of history columns about, I just finished one about who founded the Belmont and some of the intrigue there, because it was very, very interesting.
So tell us a little bit about that article.
Well, it's called The Rascal, the Wit, and the Master. And if anybody is a movie watcher or a heavy reader, Edith Wharton would use two of the characters, Leonard Jerome and August Belmont Sr., as prototypes when she was talking about the, captains of the industry, the Wall Street guys, when they got started and they were rolling. They had a lot to do with starting the Belmont Stakes. And William Travers was another gentleman who was part of their little group that they got together, and they pretty much hashed it out between themselves what needed to be done and how they were going to organize it. And they had so much money, they could put it together. They'd just go out and buy land and say, okay, let's have a party.
I think Mike went to school with a couple of them, didn't you, Mike?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So you got this huge chart for the Belmont, and when is the Belmont? Refresh our listeners of when the Belmont is going to start.
It's June 11th, and I must tell your listeners that there are two other races that are going to be clashes of the Titans. There's the Ogden Phipps race with the girls, and then there's the Met Mile, where there's about 3 undefeated horses going at each other.
So because I'm new to horse racing, like a lot of people out there, and so is there several races, and then it's the big one at the end, which is the Belmont, the big part of the Triple Crown? Is that the way it works?
Yes, correct. It'll be on NBC Sports and NBC Network. The Belmont, I believe, will be 7:30 Eastern Standard Time when they begin the coverage.
And do you have a favorite that you see? Do you have any what is it, Rich Strike? Do you have any inside information? Do you have a Rich Strike tip for me?
Well, I will tell you this: Rich Strike has some of the best looking hooves I've seen in a long time. I was talking to Mike about them. They're very healthy looking. He's been shoed very, very nicely. And that's something to remember, because it's going to rain. There's a 51% chance of a sloppy track. I think your top 3 horses, mine are We the People. Remember that one.
We the People, got it. I'm writing it. $1,000 on We the People.
Rich Strike.
1,500 on him.
Rich Strike and Mo Donegal.
All right. Is that what do they call it? First place in show or something like that?
Well, it's called a trifecta.
Okay.
My boss John Stebbins thinks I'm a chicken because I box them. But it's on any given day. When you have variables with a track that long and the longest stretch in the United States, where anything can happen.
Mike, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, she's right. There are a lot of variables that come in, and the shoe job and how their feet are play a huge part in whether these guys can run or not.
All right, well, stick around, because we're also going to talk about the track, and you talk about variables and the track conditions and stuff. So stick around. You'll listen to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. He'll be right back. Kate, you going to stick with us for another segment?
Sure.
Okay.
Now, the thing about the farriers, people are catching on to that. And the more articles, seeing more and more articles about farriers, the types of shoes, the fact that the grips are going to be banned. What is it, Mike? 2 inches or smaller or what?
Well, hold on. Save all this because we'll talk about this on the air.
Okay.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
Mike and I are kind of going, oh, no, not his.
Yep.
Right,
We're going to have to do something.
All right, hold on. Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. He was the 2017 American Eventing Championship Farrier. And make sure you follow him on YouTube. And the way you do that is search for Equine Dynamics Mike Stein. He's got a bunch of videos up there. Also, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video as well. And if you have a question for us, email us at equinedynamics.com. Make sure you put podcast in the subject line. And we'll answer it here on the air. Make sure you put a return address, and we'll send you out some magnets and stickers and whatnot. We have some free swag and stuff here. And speaking of free swag, over to my far right side is Mike Stein. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
And on the phone with us right now still is Kate Richards, a writer for the PastTheWire.com, an online magazine for thoroughbred racing horses. And she's got the Belmont chart up on the website. So if you want to go over there, that's PastTheWire.com, and you can see the Belmont chart where it shows the top 5 horses. It's got the track conditions. This is a longer track. We'll get into that here in just 1 sec. It also has on your chart, Kate, I'm sorry. On the chart, Kate, it's got all the colors of the horses and the jockeys. Is that right?
Yeah. Hold on a second. It will be up probably Wednesday.
Okay.
We've got to get the post position in the morning line because that has a lot to do with how people want to do their betting strategy and their ticket structure. And by the way, my boss, John Stebbins, we call the Pick Six King. He is aces. He's having a free seminar on the website. So I encourage people, it's free. There's no subscription involved. And if you want to hear what a heavy-duty handicapper has to say, it's going to be at 7 o'clock on Thursday night.
And that's over on PastTheWire.com.
That is correct.
Now,
thanks for letting me mention that.
Sure, no problem. Now, this track that's coming up over in the Belmont, the track condition, it's a 1.5 mile track. Now, tell us why that's so important compared to the other ones like the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby.
Okay, the way most all American tracks are built, they're basically built miles. And so by the time, when you get to the top of the stretch at the Belmont Oval, they have run the distance of the Kentucky Derby, which is the longest classic race. So adding another 1/2 mile to that, that's why they call it the Test of Champions.
Now, the track conditions out there, we were talking about all the different variables, and you mentioned about how important farriers are as far as shoeing the horse and what Rich Strike actually had. You said the shoes on Rich Strike, and Mike agreed as well as far as the shoeing on that. It's probably what helped that horse maintain and cut through all that traffic to get all the way up to the front.
That's right. Mike and I were talking about how good his hoof looked. It looked like it was getting daily care. The legs were getting poultices and ice all the time. This is a good thing because, the speed happens from the foot. Your farrier is the most important ingredient next to your bet and a really good groom. Because if you don't have the right shoes, that horse, they can't move their feet. And that has to do a lot with the trimming. And I learned a lot talking to Mike about how to approach the track, how to feel it. And there's a different, they call it Belmont Big Sandy, but it's not all sand. It's just got a coat of sand on the top, and the next layer is clay, and the bottom layer is silt. And what they have that no other track has, they have sensors positioned around the track to tell the track maintenance department when there's water buildup.
Mike, you wanted to say something?
Well, that I had no idea they had sensors under the track, but it doesn't surprise me. With any track, whether it be show horses or whatever, that surface makes so much difference in how a horse performs. And as from the farrier's end of it, we have to make adjustments working around the conditions they're going to be working in. And that has gotten more complicated than ever at this point.
And with those sensors on the track, I would, Kate, I would imagine they would alert the grounds crew. And do they remove that dirt, or how do they adjust the moisture level on the track if those sensors go off?
Travis, I've been trying to figure that out for the last 2 years.
That's probably why they got that's their secret.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's evidently, even though they had those guys from the University of Kentucky who are specialists in compounds, track surfaces, they're not talking. It's a special deal, and one of the reasons that the jockeys are always quoted as saying they'd rather run at Belmont than anywhere else because of the sensors and the fact that the track doesn't get sticky and it doesn't puddle.
Well, it's probably the same thing as like what a pro golfer would do on the major golf courses, and those they would have sensors on the court or on the greens themselves to see, the groundskeeper has to make sure there's not enough water down there by the greens, by the, all that stuff. I'm assuming that would be the same way with the horse track. Or I don't know how they address it, as far as do they dig up do they put baking soda down there to soak up put some damper in there to get the moisture out? I mean,
clay.
Right.
Clay. That's the whole idea. And you probably gave our audience the entire, rationale where this concept of having the sensors there came from golf. That's brilliant.
There you go. See, I'm good for something, Mike. I'm good for something.
Occasionally, yeah.
All right, Kate, anything else before we let you go?
Well, I also watch, the Met Mile and the Ogden Fits. It's going to be very, very exciting horse racing all day long at the Belmont. And thank you for letting me go. Come on.
Sure. Where can our listeners find you, and where are you going to be at?
I will be probably watching, because I love the drone shot. I will be watching on television. I am not going to be there this year.
And how can they find your articles and all your websites and stuff?
Past the Wire. That's PAST. TheWire.com. And don't forget, Thursday night, 7 o'clock, the handicapping seminar with John Stebbins.
Is that 7 p.m. Eastern time? Because we have listeners on the West Coast.
Yes, it is.
So 7 p.m. Eastern time at pastthewire.com, and that's with your boss's name again is?
John Stebbins.
And he's given his...
Pick 6 King.
The Pick 6 King. All right, Kate, we appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate y'all, and thank you so much for having me on.
Sure thing.
All right, thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Bye.
Stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. He'll be right back. Anything?
Chewing changes.
Huh?
Chewing changes that are coming down the line.
Is this for horse racing?
For horse racing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll talk about that. Ready?
Yes.
All right. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein, the best podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stein is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stein.
Hello, Travis.
If you have any questions for us here on the podcast, excuse me, go to equinedynamics.com and click on contacts and make sure you put podcast in the subject line. And don't forget, go over to pastthewire.com. Kate Richards is a writer over there that's based on thoroughbred horse racing. There's a lot of articles up there. And don't forget, this Thursday, she said, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the guy with the big Pick 6 is going to give a free seminar. So make sure you jump on that as well. Now, Mike, we were talking about horse conditions, and, Kate said about the way Rich Strike, his feet were done. Is it he, right?
It's a he, yes.
How his feet were done probably helped him achieve what he did in the Kentucky Derby. Now, of course, Rich Strike didn't run in the Preakness because they kind of backed off on him a little bit. Now he's going to be running in the Belmont. Now the Belmont's a longer race,
Right.
And it is a little bit more. It's 1.5 miles, and track conditions and stuff like that. So as far as shoeing those horses between those different stages, between the Preakness and the Belmont and the Kentucky Derby, what are we looking for as far as changing the styles of the based on the track?
Depending on the surface of the track, and there's a lot of things coming down the.
Now, when you say when you say the surface of the track, the condition of
The condition
Yes.
of the track. How wet is it? How sticky is it? How deep is it? That all is going to make a big difference in how the horse runs. With rules that are coming down the line, and traction devices are going to be pretty much null and void. No, they're talking about getting rid of toe grabs, stickers, heel calks, turn downs where they actually bow the back of the shoe down, and they're looking at the welfare of the horse. But the other end of it is, if you have a track that is too wet and sloppy, what are we going to do there because of slip and slide injuries? Can we stabilize them on that ground? And there's going to be a lot of interpreting on the new rulings.
the way I look at it, Mike, and you touched on it just right then about the injuries. It's like telling the football team, all right, guys, you're playing on grass or turf or whatever like that, but you're not allowed to wear cleats in your shoes anymore. So you've got to take all the cleats and whatever, all the little spiky stuff that's on your cleats. You're not allowed to wear those anymore. So what happens to your front line when they hike the ball?
Right.
They go slipping and sliding all over the place.
They do. And if the track surface is right where we want it, that's not going to be a big problem. As far as leverage against your flexor tendons and all that, getting rid of the toe grabs torques against that tendon, and if your track surface is too firm, it creates a lot of pressure, and that can create some injuries. That's what they're trying to do, is keep some of these horses where they can have long careers after racetracks. And the guys that are shoeing these horses to run at this level are some excellent farriers. They've got to be. It's a tough job. But if they're not, if they're not at their best, they don't run at their best. If their feet are not at their best, they don't run at their best. And that's got to all be taken care of.
And it's the difference between running in flip-flops and running in tennis shoes.
Exactly. But with the new ruling, you'll be able to use about a 2 millimeter rim on the shoe, which is not much. There are things we can do with the mechanics of the shoe, the shape of the shoe. If a horse has a good cup in the bottom of the foot, the cup's going to be your traction. And you may be able to work in there with a little elevation or whatever to create a little bit of a deeper cup. But that's where your traction is going to come from, is the arch in the middle of the foot as it goes into the ground. And it's like a shovel scooping a bit. And at that speed, it's going to be a shovel scooping. The breakover on the horse is going to be a little different because of eliminating the toe grabs. As far as the glide on the track, that's going to be a little different situation because you're not going to have caulks or anything like that, stickers, any of those deals that are when the foot comes into the track, slowing it down.
And how many years were you doing the track racing horses?
I had a few years in there.
And you're being modest, though.
I did not do it. Some of these guys out there have spent their whole career built around the racetrack.
Right.
My career has been built around therapeutics and a lot more sport horse. But yes, I've done some track shoeing.
But so basically everything that can be applied to, everything.
At some level.
Yeah.
At some level. It's just like when I'm working on a dressage horse and a 3-day event horse, I cannot shoe them the same. If you look at your horses that are just solely in the arena and the amount of support I can put on a horse and what I do on an event horse, well, they'll leave. If I did it like the horses solely in the arena when they're on cross country, you've got to keep shoes where they're supposed to be. The track is a different deal because, boy, when they're turning it on, they're turning it on. And I can't outfit it like I would a dressage horse because if they're slinging stuff off their feet, they can that can blow them out of the race right there.
Right.
The other factor that people don't look at sometimes is the amount of abrasion you get, because that horse is moving 35 miles an hour. When that foot comes in, it glides on the surface as it's setting into it, and she's called it Big Sandy, right?
Right.
There's a lot of sand grit in there, and some of it fairly coarse, and it puts a lot of wear on the shoes for the distance that they go. And if you look at the bottom of the horse's foot, the sole, well, it's taking sole out. It's sanding it out of there because you put something up to a belt grinder, right?
I was going to say, it's like running something on a pumice stone.
Exactly. I've put builds on the soles of these horses, some of the sole build material, and not very thick because you don't want to interfere with the cup too much. But a horse that's working at speed was blasting that sole build out of the bottom of the foot in a few days. It's just removing it. So the problem was we had to do something with a horse that then sold a shade tender, and we had to do something to get him some relief as we were building some foot in. So we opted to go with a little bit of a layer of the sole build. But he was, when he was galloping on that track, you look at the tube, they say it'll stay in there 4 to 6 weeks. Well, it probably will on your wife's dressage horse. A horse that's working at that speed, because of the abrasion against the track surface, you're not going to do that.
Right. Got it. All right, guys, stick around. We got one more little segment to get to, and we'll let you get back to enjoying your day. Stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. He'll be right back. Do you want me to let you figure out how to?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you can word it better than all the terminology than I do. All right. Ready? Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stein. Make sure you follow him on his Facebook. Make sure you follow him on his Facebook page, and the way you do that is search for Equine Dynamics Mike Stein. He's posted a bunch of videos up there. There was a cross-section of a hoof I saw you had up there that kind of charts out everything on there. It's very interesting there.
A little bit of anatomy, yeah.
And make sure you like him and subscribe to him on YouTube as well. He's been posting a bunch of videos up there. And don't forget, for your podcast we have a matching video of us here in the studio. You can see me waving to Mike, Mike waving to me. And that's Equine Dynamics over on YouTube as well. And make sure you like and subscribe and share it with your friends. Anyone in the horse community, the equine community, we'd love for you to share us and have you be part of the show as well. And the way you can be part of the show is to email Mike at any time at equinedynamics.com. In the subject line, put podcast, and then write your question in there or a comment or anything like that, and put your return address, and we will send you out some magnets and stickers and some free swag that we have here. And over to my far right hand side is Mike Stein.
Good morning, Travis.
So we were talking to Kate Richards earlier. Make sure you follow her as well over at PastTheWire.com, an online thoroughbred horse racing magazine. And don't forget, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Big Pick 6 is giving a free seminar on the Belmont that's coming up here in the next few days, June 11th, I believe. Now, Mike, you were going to say something?
Well, we were talking about what farriers do, and we work off of movement patterns, body patterns, compression patterns, and all that. And myself, I work in with a number of vet clinics. When you've got problems with your horse, we need to bring our vets in because they can go in with, ultrasound, x-rays, whatever we do, and diagnose exactly what's going on. I can get a lot from the externals of a hoof. I can get a lot from the body of a horse. I can get a lot with the movement pattern of the horse and start thinking on how I work with the mechanics of what I do and the balance of the foot. And there's a lot more involved in trimming in that than people believe. It's not just trimming a foot. Sometimes we've got to deal with some odd pressures. These guys that are racing, doing with these race horses, if they don't have those pressures evened out in the foot as far as any kind of twisting, torque, pressure points, building in the hoof, horse can't run. But I cannot ultrasound, I cannot x-ray, I cannot use any of the imaging that needs to be done. And there are feet that you will shoot x-rays on that externally, going by your landmarks, you're going to find out sometimes that it's not there. So vets and farriers have to work hand in hand.
So yeah, make sure, I hit my microphone here. Make sure everyone understands that. Make sure that your farrier and your vet are very well known together, and they are both working together to help you create a sounder horse from the ground up. All right, Mike, what did we learn today? 1, don't wear spurs on a 3-year-old that's not used to spurs.
Well, depends on the effect you're going for.
Right.
You know, I mean.
Yeah, and it threw my wife, and her helmet is cracked, so that helmet's done. So she's ordered a new helmet here, but she's fine. She's good. She was out this morning actually doing some lunging with the horses because she doesn't have the helmet. So she's out there. She's fine.
She's not able to defy gravity.
No, she is not. She tried. And don't forget, follow Kate Richards over at PastTheWire.com and the online course that's on this Friday. Or I'm sorry, this Thursday at 7 p.m. With Belmont. Excuse me, with the Big Pick 6 over at the Belmont chart.
I tell you, Kate is a wealth of information. She is very bright, and you got to try to keep up with her.
She's 100 miles an hour on the ground.
She goes when she goes after something. She does it. Don't think you're going to stop her.
And she's got a bunch of articles over there, and it's a great read as well. All right, guys. On that note, we're going to let you get back to enjoying the rest of your day. On behalf of Mike Stein over there.
Have a good one. Thank you, Kate. Always a treat.
My name is Travis Holmes saying see you next week.
Just close your eyes and dream, little pal. Dream on.
Oh, I got your. I finally was able to copy your video, by the way.
Okay.
So I'll be working on that today. It's 45 minutes long.
Good
You
night.
want me to just?
Good night, Ned. Good night, Ned.